Hey guys, welcome to the content batching party this month. I'm really excited because we are celebrating Instagram's 10-year anniversary, and we're going to focus all on Instagram content. But before we start, right over here, there is a chat box. So I'd love just to know who's here and let us know what industry you're in, connect with each other. This is going to be your best place to ask questions throughout this webinar, as well as connect with each other. You know, we are a small business community and we love when you guys can meet up and chat with each other that way. We also have Maura and Tia from Team Edgar here, and they will be manning the chat, and they'll be a great wealth resource for you all as you're asking your questions throughout. So welcome, Sarah, Joe, Jeanette. It's so great to have you all here. Marina, welcome, welcome. Thank you guys so much for joining. So what we're going to do today is go over a little bit of Instagram strategy, as well as make sure you guys feel confident with a plan for how you batch your content. So if this is your first batching party and you're unfamiliar with the concept of batching, I'm going to pop a worksheet into the chat, and you can go ahead and download that to get some ideas on how you can make sure that the content you're creating is done in a systemized fashion. Because when we have a plan with our content, it becomes something that's much more engaging to our followers, and social media doesn't become a place where they feel like you're just posting to have a presence, but you're posting to have a purpose. So on the worksheet there that you download, you'll notice some sample math that you can do to help you determine how many social media status updates you're going to create per week or per month, whatever flow works for you, in order to make sure that you're not producing status updates every single day. Rather, you're doing it in batches. One of my favorite ways of explaining batches is it's like baking some cookies. You want to make sure that when you bake a cookie, you're not taking out 10 different ingredients and making just one. You're making a dozen. You're making a whole batch. Same with your social media status updates. When you're sitting down and planning your content, you want to make sure that you're doing it in batches. It not only makes sure your brand voice is present throughout each and every status update, but again, it becomes a purposeful experiment for you to participate in while creating status updates for your followers. The other thing on that worksheet is a concept we love sharing here at Team Edgar, and that is going to be upcycling your content. So upcycling is taking one pillar piece of content and turning it into multiple status updates. If you're not doing this in 2020, you are on the content creation treadmill. You really want to make sure that anything you produce, whether it's a blog post or a video or a podcast, is shared in multiple formats, because you know not everyone's going to see it the first time. And some people will prefer, let's say, to watch a video and consume your content. Some people will prefer to read it. So you want to make sure you give everyone each opportunity. Awesome. So now that we've gone over the concepts of batching and upcycling, I'm going to share my slides and we'll get into a little bit on how you actually use Team Edgar and Instagram. And we'll also talk a little bit about these strategies for Instagram that are working in 2020. Awesome. So as you go into your Edgar account, I know a lot of you are new. I saw on the content batching party pre-form. So I'm going to go over just adding content into Edgar real quick to start, and then we'll get into the strategy. But as you know, Team Edgar is a category-based system of posting. So when you open up your Team Edgar account and you go to the categories tab, you're going to start creating different categories. Now, you can use categories that are more general for all of your content and amplify a message across all content, or you can use network-specific categories if you like to use different language in your posts. So since we're focusing on Instagram today, it can be really cool if you have a full Edgar plan and you have unlimited categories on it to create Instagram-specific categories. This allows you to really make sure the text you're using is going to be tailored towards Instagram the most. So, you know, things like when you're driving traffic on Instagram, the links you put in your posts are not clickable. So you want to do things like put the link in bio language so that people, when they're looking at your content, are able to click on the link in your bio and be directed to your blog or whatever you're sharing. So there's a lot of those little things that make the language on Instagram a little different from the other network. Now, you know, here at Edgar, we are all about working smarter, not harder. So a lot of the time, we want to make sure you're amplifying the same message everywhere to all of your networks to make sure you're not having to repeat yourself. Instagram, a few of them like driving traffic and stuff like that, it can be really helpful for them to have their own categories. So if you've never tried an Instagram specific category, that could be something you consider setting up today. So as you're clicking to add a new category, you're going to go ahead and place the name in like we did here. And this again is on your categories tab. You can either click the pencil icon to rename a category or click to add a new category. Once you have some Instagram categories set up in Edgar, you're going to start to load your Instagram content into Meet Edgar. You're going to click to add new content in the upper right-hand corner. When you click to add content, as with anything you put into Meet Edgar, you're always going to select the type of post it is, so the category. You're then going to go ahead and select your account permissions. So those are what the checkboxes over on the left-hand side of the screen is. So make sure you click off Instagram, and then you'll write your post in that text box you see there. For Instagram, you always have to have a photo or a video attached. So those icons in the lower left corner will allow you to attach the photo or video. For Instagram, you can attach up to 10 photos, and definitely take advantage of some carousel and multi-photo posting on Instagram. This is one of my favorite hacks for the Instagram algorithm, because you know what they do with those photos? They actually test it for you. When you upload multiple images into Instagram, they test showing a different image to different people in your feed until they see which one is actually going to produce the most likes, so the most double taps on there, and then they'll start showing that one more. So it's a really cool way that you can make sure you're actually having the algorithm do a little testing for you. If you're posting for stories with Meet Edgar, you're also just going to add your story frames this way with the little icons in the lower left corner. That's how you can attach your photos and your videos. So once you've written your status updates, you're then going to need to schedule them. So there's two main ways of scheduling content. The first is going to be on the Schedule tab that you'll see at the upper navigation bar in your Edgar account. For Instagram, same rules apply for the schedule as well. When you click to add a new time slot, make sure you've connected it to Instagram, as you can see I've done here. Make sure you selected a category in the library that holds Instagram posts. Then it'll appear as a time slot on your schedule, which will look like this. How these time slots actually work is a last in, first out rotation. So Edgar will go along here and he'll hit this time slot. The most recent post you added to the category will be the first one to send out. It'll then be taken and put to the end of the line in that category, and Edgar will move along. Next time he hits that category on your schedule, he'll send the next update out, put it to the end of the line in the category and move along, and work his way through all of the content in that category. Once he reaches the bottom and there's no new content in that category, that's when he'll start from the top again, resurfacing the older content for new followers to see, as well as those who didn't have the opportunity to see it the first time. So it can be really good for you to make the content you're putting on your evergreen schedule here be relevant for people to see no matter what time of year it is. If you do have posts that you only want to share one time though, when you're adding content to Edgar, the advanced settings menu will allow you to use a checkbox next to that use once, and that'll let Edgar know not to repeat the post. The other way of scheduling is for your more holiday or date specific posts. For example, some of the best ways to go ahead and develop the content that you're going to post for a month is to get a few of those fun holidays in there. Everyone loves celebrating these goofy holidays like National Have a Bagel Day or something like that. You can just Google the calendar of national holidays that are kind of fun for social media and go ahead and time slot those in using our Schedule, Send, and Save feature. So for example, here at Meet Edgar, we might want to celebrate National Octopus Day. That would be October 8th, in case you were wondering. So what we would do for this kind of post is next to the Save to Library button, when you're clicking to add content, you'll notice you have a drop-down menu appear if you click that arrow. If you click Schedule, Send, and Save, a text box will pop up where you're able to put a specific day and time when you want that post to go out. So this is a completely separate way of scheduling in Edgar, and it's really great for you to be able to do this in order to gain that Schedule, Send, and Save option for your fun holiday posts or like a Black Friday post or something like that. So as we're going throughout the different types of content you can add for Instagram, keep in mind whether this is an evergreen content and you can put it into your category schedule for those automation rules, or if we're doing the Schedule, Send, and Save feature here. Awesome. So For Instagram specifically, and guys, if you are new to Edgar and you're looking for a little bit more on how to actually set Edgar up, we do have this playlist here on YouTube that I'm just going to drop into the chat. And it's a great place to kind of be like, what did she say about the schedule? That has like little 3-minute videos of each section of Edgar. So go ahead and check that out as well after the webinar today. And we're always available in office hours if you have more like setup questions rather than batching questions as well. And I'm just going to pop that link into the chat as well. So after today's webinar, if you're like, Megan, shoot, I really need help setting up still, come to an office hour session. They're completely unstructured. I won't show up with any slides, I promise. And that Demio link down there will lead you to where you can come for office hours and ask any of your setup questions. We try to run them daily, so pop on into one of those at any time. But getting back to Instagram strategy, really when you think about Instagram, we want you to think about the goal not to be to get 1 million followers, but to use it as a place for the followers you have to become your customers. And what this is really going towards the difference is you need to get your content in front of the right people. And this means doing a little bit of groundwork and researching things like what hashtags does your ideal client hang out in? Who is going to get the most benefit from your product or service? It doesn't do you any good to have 1 million followers who aren't going to buy from you. There are a ton of Instagram influencers out there who have so many followers but aren't making any money. On the flip side, there's a ton of very small audiences and very small communities on Instagram who are making 6 figures for their products and services because they've identified the right people and they're using their content not to grow to reach 1 million people and 1 million followers, but to really serve the ones they have. So I want you to have that mindset as you're adding in your Instagram content. The content that you put out there should be taking someone from what we call the brand awareness phase. So this phase of someone just discovering that your brand and your product or service exists, down to the decision-making phase of the marketing funnel, which will allow someone to decide, yes, your product or service is something that I need to solve my pain point. So every piece of content shouldn't just be content to show up. It should be content to nurture people down the decision-making process so they feel awesome about handing over their credit card and purchasing your product or your service. So you want to take focusing on your followers and getting them to be raving fans, not just getting more followers. Okay, my rant about that is over, but I really truly see the magic happen on people's Instagram accounts when they serve the people they already have, rather than desperately going after the fans that they don't have yet. So focus on the followers you have and turning them into fans, and then word of mouth marketing and stuff will start organically growing. When you are making content for any network, I find it incredibly useful to look at the network's mission statement, because you know that mission statement is really going and making sure that they are is really driving like the algorithm choices and the features that they build. So Instagram's mission statement is to capture and share the world's moments. That's a pretty cool mission statement, right? So what does this mean? For you, it means you want to focus on moments, which means lifestyle photos and outcome photos. So rather than always just focusing on the features or always just focusing on like the services that you provide, you want to focus on what kind of lifestyle will this give the people that are following me if they purchase my product or service? What outcome will they have in their life if they purchase my product or service? Lifestyle photos do not always have to be your own either. Remember, stock images can be really great. You don't want to do everything as a stock image, but as you're starting to look at ways to market like your features in a more lifestyle-oriented way, going to some websites like Pixabay and Unsplash is a really great way that you can start to get photos that look really natural and that really help the content that you're writing come to life. So if you're someone who doesn't have a lot of photos of your product or service, or you don't feel comfortable being on those photos yet, which I'm going to push you to be a little more comfortable showing your face, I would really recommend checking out these sites. These are free stock images. There's a lot you can pay for out there too, which is a good strategy, because if you pay for them, it's likely people aren't using them. I'm not saying every photo should be a stock photo, but check these sites out to get some lifestyle-oriented photos so that your feed looks really great. All right, so Also, going into looking at what Instagram's done recently, they're testing out things like removing likes and removing the follower counts from different profiles. They rolled this out by region, so yours might have got this, might not have got this. But as we start to look at what they're doing here with their algorithm, you can really tell that they want you to focus less on getting likes and vanity metrics. You know, likes don't actually turn into dollar signs, and focus more on the content that's actually going to be helpful to people. So what you really want to focus on, in our opinion, is shareable and savable content. Shareable content is so cool because if someone shares a post, let's say they see your Instagram post and they click on that little airplane and they send it to their story or to their own feed, that is taking your brand's message and getting it in front of their audience. So what is really good as shareable content? Quotes, helpful tips, identifying content. So anything that makes someone read it, when your followers read it, nod their head and say, oh yeah, that's me. People share things that they relate to and they identify with. So that's why inspiring quotes and funny memes and stuff are shared by a lot of successful brands. And you might be looking at them going, why is this brand sharing a funny meme? It's because they know it's more likely someone's going to laugh and share that to their story, opening up your brand name to their followers. Savable content, you can see that people are actually going to save some of your posts on Instagram to their what they refer to as collections. Savable content really is a great identifier that you've done something right because someone wants to go back to it later. So why would someone save a post? Well, it'd be because you shared a tip or something useful that they want to take action on later. So look for ways that you can incorporate things that people would share and save rather than just like, because that's going to make your Instagram content really live a lot longer on the platform. So as you're starting to develop your Instagram strategy, I want to make sure that you are really looking at a schedule that you can consistently follow. I know a lot of the time it can be really kind of more is better mindset, especially in the content creation world. But honestly, more is not better if it's not quality content and if it's not something you're going to consistently do. You all know you've probably followed people out there who have disappeared after like 3 months or something. You know, people are really getting used to the fact that the brands who actually stay and are consistent with their content creation are the ones that are going to gain the most attention online. And attention truly is the currency of the internet these days. So consistency needs to be a part of your plan. So there's no one right answer for this, guys. I'm going to go ahead and throw out there something that can really be helpful if you're just getting started. I know a lot of you said you're just ramping up your Instagram presence again and you're just getting started and you're pretty new. This is not the one answer. Everyone's audience is different. So please do your experimentation and please get to know what your followers truly like. But I'm going to throw out there, if you just need a place to start, don't overcomplicate it and follow a schedule where you're posting 3 times a week on your feed and you're posting daily in your stories. So the stories are some of the most consumed content on Instagram these days. The stories are those little bubbles at the top of your screen when you log in and you just tap on them and they go to work. It is such a passive way that people are consuming content. You know, people do it during TV commercials. I know I do it waiting in line at the grocery store. And it is just a great way to kind of escape, to be entertained, and to learn something in these downtimes that I would be doing nothing. Think about your own consumption habits on Instagram and what you want from Instagram when you go on there. You want to be entertained, you don't want to be bored, and you want to probably learn something that's helpful in your life, right? That's the kind of content you want to be focusing on your stories. In your feed, 3 times a week is a really great place to start, especially because people aren't consuming feed content as much anymore. And Instagram's algorithm does do a really great job of taking like a feed post that you perhaps posted a couple days ago and serving it up to someone who logged into the app for the first time like 2 days later. So you don't have to worry that people aren't going to see your posts in your feed every time. The algorithm's actually set up in a way that it does it pretty well. But your feed posts that you're putting out there should be all about discoverability and who chooses to follow you. So when you're actually going onto Instagram, and let's say that you've actually gone on there and you've decided to search a certain hashtag in the explore feature on Instagram, you want to go out there and see some different accounts that have to do with said hashtag. Let's say I was going on to Instagram and searching for like social media, the hashtag social media, and just going through the pictures that are showing up in my explore feature. If I see a photo there, I'm going to discover it that I really like whatever concept they're speaking of, and I'm going to choose to follow. So you kind of want to decide what content you're putting out there on your feed as being really discoverable for people and convincing someone to follow you for a certain reason. Now, when someone then goes to your bio and goes to your Instagram account, what's going to make someone choose to follow you? It's going to be them reading your bio, and then it's going to be that grid. The first 9 photos that people are going to see right there, those are your first 9 choices for your first impression of if they're going to follow you or not. So your bio needs to really answer a few questions. What am I going to get out of following this account? When someone goes to your account page, do they have a really clear understanding about what they're going to get from you? Because remember, people don't really want to follow brands that aren't giving them something, whether it's motivation or a fun feeling or tips throughout the day. No one's following brands that are just promoting, which is why the categories in Edgar allow you to share different types of valuable content so that you're not just doing promotion after promotion. So as you start to go through this, what should you answer in your bio? You should answer who you are. You should answer what people should expect from following you. You should answer how you do what you do, and you should answer why people should follow you. So go to your bio on Instagram and make sure that these questions are answered in what you're saying, because you really only get a couple of lines to convince someone why they should follow you, and they really need to know who you are and what to expect to know if they want you to show up in their feed. Remember, showing up in someone's feed is a pretty personal thing. That's where they hang out with their friends and family. So if they're inviting your brand in there, it's likely because they want to learn something specific that you can offer them. So make that really obvious. In those first 9 photos that's going to convince someone to follow you or not, you want to make sure you have different types of posts so they can get a well-rounded view of what they're going to get from you. Again, different types of posts translates into using your categories within Meet Edgar wisely. So using your categories to do things like rotate through things like your origin story, tell people who you are, why you started, what values your company has. Look to see if you have posts like that scheduled. These posts are a great opportunity to get brave, get in front of the camera, and do some photo shoots of your face or of your team so that it shows up in a way that people are actually seeing the face behind the brand. Really make sure that you're showing up in an origin story at least every 9 frames. Again, the who you are, what you're all about, because truly that will help really clarify to people if you are the right choice for them to follow. Also, in those first 9 frames, you want to make sure you're doing things like sharing a helpful tip. Can you get someone a result with one of your tips? For example, here at Meet Edgar, we could share a tip about categorizing your social media. That's something people can take action on even without using our software, that they can see results from of how it systematizes it even more. If they get results from trying this tip we gave them, it's much more likely that they'll actually purchase from us because we're building up that trusting relationship with them. So are you offering people a helpful tip? If you don't have a ton of tips that are related to your product or service, could you give a really great productivity tip about how your morning routine works or how you cook dinner for your family without going crazy? Think about these lifestyle things that people would get help from and start sharing those. Look for quotes, whether they're your own thought leadership quotes or whether they're inspirational quotes that you just Google online. These things are really, really helpful to put onto social media as shareable content. So all of these are just category ideas that you can start incorporating in so that your first 9 photos that people always see, again, are a great rotation and they get an idea of everything that you're going to be sharing. For your stories, don't overcomplicate stories. Think about what a story is. It's a beginning, a middle, and an end. That's what an Instagram story should be as well. You want to make sure you're really setting the tone for people with that beginning story. You're really bringing in some conflict in the middle, and then you're wrapping it up at the end. This could be as simple as doing 3 frames that bring people through this. Now with me, Edgar, you know for your Instagram content that we do it with a push notification system, which means, I should have put this at the very beginning, I'm gonna do a little caveat here, but which means if you haven't yet downloaded our app, I'm going to put the link into where you can download it into the chat here. You'll wanna make sure you download this app right here for the Instagram posts. Now, you can schedule stories, this means, using me, Edgar, because we use it with a push notification. We do have a blog post that's really excellent for going through how you schedule your stories, and I'm putting that in the chat today as well. The chat is right there, and that's how you schedule your stories. But essentially, you're loading them into Edgar in the same way. So if you wanted to do a 3-frame story, you would click to add content, add your 3 photos and your text to the text box. Once that story is scheduled and it sends the push notification to your Meet Edgar app, the photos are going to automatically download to your phone. The text will automatically copy to your phone's clipboard. You're gonna go ahead and tap to open Instagram from the Meet Edgar app. Instagram will go ahead and open. You're gonna choose to post it either to your story or to your feed. Once you get to your story, you can just find those 3 photos that are on your camera roll, filter them, tap to paste any of the text that you want to paste, and you're good to go. So as you're planning story content within Meet Edgar, take advantage of uploading different photos to one post so that when the push notification sends, all of those photos are downloaded to your camera roll and ready to roll. So again, thinking about the beginning, middle, end, something I find helpful here as well is thinking about this as in Painpoint, conflict, hero, outcome. So for an example of this, like Meet Edgar, we know our community has a pain point of wanting to be more efficient and saving time on social media. We've talked to a lot of people about this in our community. We know the language that they use to describe this pain point. So we're going to take that language and bring it into our posts to really talk to people about, hey, what pain point do you have? As you're starting to go ahead and put the pain point on the first frame, let's say, let's then bring a little bit of conflict, right? That conflict is people then deciding like, is this pain point strong enough for me to need to purchase a tool or not? Start thinking in that zone that your followers are thinking. And then your tool can say, okay, look, we provide this tool, and then you can be a hero for using this tool to save yourself time on social media. The outcome is you now have time to go and relax with your family and friends. So what story arc does your product or service have like that? You know, the pain point of the disheveled entrepreneur not having enough time for social media before they purchased Edgar, purchasing Edgar, getting systemized with their social media so they're starting to get more sales. Outcome is also having more time to work on other areas of their business or spend that time with their family and friends. That is a simple story that we can tell about our product. You have that too, and this is great content to put in your stories. Other things to put in your stories, behind the scenes content. We love that. Pull back the curtain. Let's see what this brand is all about, and let's see about your lifestyle. So you could even do a story about cooking breakfast in the morning, you know? Think about the different ways that you can simply tell a story and have those scheduled out. I recommend perhaps creating like a stories category within Meet Edgar so that you know when you're adding your content to your stories, you can put that category to go out every single day on your Meet Edgar weekly schedule. You could have an Instagram stories category. It's going out every morning. You'll get that push notification and your photos and your text is already there for you. So all you need to do is identify it and post it. Awesome. Cool. So one story should really have one focus. You really want to make sure that you have an incredibly simple message for people to follow. So in that example I gave, I don't want to put like a million other reasons that Edgar can help you. Edgar's got a lot of different features, and the time-saving aspect really comes into play that the schedule is just going to send your content out for you, right? So really don't overcomplicate your stories, and also remind yourself they don't have to be like 10 million frames. That can often look a little bit exhausting when people log into Instagram and they're going through their stories and they have that little bar at the top that shows like 50 different story frames to go through. I don't know about you, but that kind of stresses me out sometimes. So make sure that you're just keeping it one focus for one story and not feeling like you have to go above and beyond and do 10 million frames every day. Your followers will thank you if your message comes across clear, because clarity helps someone make a decision. And if you can help someone make a decision, they are going to thank your brand, because we are inundated every day with having to make a million decisions. And sometimes we want a little help making them. So be the brand that's super clear and helps people make a decision that yes or no, they need your product or service, or yes or no, they need that tip you're giving them. One story, one focus. All right, and you want to be cohesive in everything that you do on Instagram. Now, Instagram has changed quite a bit in the fact that it doesn't have to be perfectly curated on your feed or in your stories. So don't get overwhelmed thinking, oh, I'm never going to do good on Instagram because I'm not one of these like influencers who has a beautifully, perfectly curated feed. That's truly not what people are seeing be successful these days. People want that rawness. They want to just look at something and realize that it's relatable way more than they want perfection. With that said, there's a lot of really easy things you can do using programs like Canva and using presets that you can purchase online for your photos. A preset is just something that you can go ahead and use. There's an Adobe app for your phone actually called Lightroom that you can go ahead and purchase presets from so that every single photo has a really cohesive color scheme. Super simple to do. And it's not something that has to be perfect every time, but look for ways to make sure your brand colors really show up in everything you're posting and that your presets are really similar. So really, what do you want to do and wish that your clients knew about you? This is another really great question to start asking for your stories or for your feed. As you're developing your content, just ask yourself, if I could tell each and every client one thing about my company, what would that be? And then tell them, right? Social media is the best because it takes away all gatekeepers and you're controlling the message of your business completely. So look for ways that you can really tell people all of the awesome things about what you do. And it doesn't come across braggy at all. I promise that I know all of you have this humbleness in you that are saying, I don't want to self-promote. But sometimes we really do have to tell our clients these things clearly and just tell people what we want them to know. All right, so as you're going throughout this, remember, it's not practice makes perfect, it's planning makes perfect on social media. So planning makes perfect means doing the math that we gave you in that batching worksheet and having a plan for your social media. You're going to get a lot more engagement this way. So what I suggest doing, again, is not overcomplicating it. You can do your own math on that worksheet that we dropped in there, but also think about how simple this is. Let's say you want to share in your grid that you remember that like 9x9 grid that people are making a decision to follow you or not. Let's make sure that you have a month's worth of social media content in Edgar to fill that up in a way that every 9 posts there are going to be a really good vision of what people are going to get by following you. So for one, we went over having to share your origin story. So this is really good for like behind the scenes content as well. So make sure that you have a photo of you or your company, or if you're a little shy about that now, at least of your product or service. You know, if you're a software company like us, we do a lot of screen share demos of me, Edgar, stuff like that. But if you want to share one origin story a week about who your company is, your company values, what you guys do, what features you have, what you're building next, all of these are kind of related to your origin story and your product. That means only having to take 5 photos a month. You can get your best friend or you can get your husband or wife to go out there and do a little photo shoot with you. Again, it can be as simple as doing it on your phone and just get 5 of them a month. If you get 5 photos of yourself a month, go into your Edgar behind the scenes content, go ahead and upload them to Edgar and write your origin story, write your values, write what features you're most proud of, write why you're excited to write your next blog post. Do that for 5 of them and you have a month's worth of content going out if you share one origin story a week. Remember, planning makes it so simple and systematized that you almost feel like it's not even work sometimes. You can do this with quotes too. Go out and Google some quotes, guys, that have to do with inspiring people in your industry. Go into Canva and actually go ahead and put that quote on a background. Text overlay can be incredibly helpful on Instagram because you want to think about the nature of people going out and searching a certain hashtag. If you search a hashtag on Instagram, it's going to go ahead and show you just the photos that appear with that hashtag. So as people are scrolling through the explore feature on Instagram, they're actually not seeing your caption. So sometimes if all you have is photos of yourself and someone sees that photo come up in an explore they're doing for hashtags, they're probably just going to skip over it because there's not any context on why they should care. So doing things like quotes on like a background in Canva or text overlay on some of your pictures can be incredibly helpful for brand awareness on Instagram because people will be able to see the text in the photo and say, oh, okay, this is a post I want to pay attention to, click into it, and then they can see your description and read more. So I'm going to encourage you to jump into Canva or whatever graphic design program you like to use and get some inspirational quotes, ones that you either Google or get your own thought leadership quotes on text overlays on some of those photos of your face that you took so that people get that context when they're searching on Instagram. Super simple to do. And if you do this in batches, you have all your brand colors in Canva. You can just do 5 of them and you know you have a month's worth of them if you're sharing 1 quote a week. Again, super simple to do. You also, again, want to share your tips. So can you sit down after this content batching party, or hopefully right now you're even writing content, and come up with 5 tips? Hopefully a couple of them have to do with your product or service, but remember, do not overcomplicate it. Make sure your tips are also just lifestyle tips. If you can save someone time or if you can save someone money, you best believe they're going to thank you for it. Those are 2 things that are universally thanked when you can do that for someone. So do you have a really good time-saving tip? Do you have a really good money-saving tip that you use? Share those tips. You know, our founder, Laura, actually did a post once about how she only does laundry once a week, and people loved her system, and people loved how she did it. And that didn't have anything to do with social media, but it was productivity related, and we're a productivity app. So it was tangentially related and really appreciated. So go ahead and think about ways that you can do this. And again, if you want a month's worth of social media tips for Instagram, that's only having to come up with 5 of them. Totally doable, and I know you've got it in you. So now we're going to look at some of Meet Edgar's Instagram posts just to get some ideas of how to take these and put them into life. So this here is an Instagram post that Maura, who's in the chat, actually posted on our Instagram a couple months ago. And this is just something that we like to teach people on how to construct their messaging on social media. And that is, I help blank. So who do you help to achieve blank? What outcome do you help them achieve so that blank? So this is a really helpful sentence for small business owners and entrepreneurs to know how to create. And on Instagram, we just constructed this in Canva. We put our little logo on there. You can see in the bottom corner. And this is an incredibly savable piece of content. So remember, we were talking about creating content that people can save. This piece of content people would save because they would want to go back to it, perhaps when they're not just mindlessly scrolling through Instagram, and they would actually want to take some time to complete it. So do you have a tip like this that you could share that people would want to save for later? So this is kind of the type of content that I like to talk about as you're starting to get in there and make more savable content. Other things that you can really think to do is, what is polarizing about what you know about your industry? So this right here is an Instagram post that says be negative, right? So that's kind of a eye-catching polarization negative thing to put out on Instagram, especially for Meet Edgar when our brand voice is all about inspiration, right? So this would make someone probably stop their scroll. So I always like you to think about, what opinions do you have about your industry that are so different from other people's? That's what's going to make people stop their scroll and say, wait a minute, because it's likely they've seen those tips, they've heard that advice from a few different people they're following, if they're following you, if you're all saying the same thing about your industry. So start to brainstorm to yourself, what do I know that's a little bit different from other people in the industry? What do I think that's a slightly polarizing thing that I can put out there? And you'll get more people to stop their scroll and dwell on your post, which means just reading that caption, And a little pro tip here, the algorithm on Instagram actually can catch what they call dwell time, which is people stopping and reading your post. And that goes into play on if they'll open this post up and have more reach with it. So think about what's a little bit different on what you think about and make sure it's really helpful. So you can see this was a good scroll stopping post that we put out, but we also go ahead and in the caption explain a little bit further about how to take this into action with your own content. So I also want to remind you that even though the nature of Instagram is not to drive traffic to your content, remember posts are not clickable. You can still drive traffic to your content. Sorry about that. And you want to make sure that you're still promoting things like your podcast or your blog post or your YouTube videos on Instagram. A lot of people will do things like link in bio, and that's a great way to do it because your bio link is the only clickable link. I'd also really like you to think about using your stories as traffic driving content. So how this works is you could do something like produce a poll in your stories. And with the poll feature, you could ask people things like, hey, who here is starting a blog and wants some tips about blogging? Like yes or no. Everyone who says yes will be brought to your DMs on Instagram. Everyone who said yes, you can then go and share what you have to help them. So for this example, Team Edgar has something called the Secret Blogging Formula. It is our ebook that people can download. It's a lead magnet we have. So people put their email address in and they can download this ebook. I'm then going and DMing this to everyone who said yes to my poll. And it's much more likely, in my opinion, that they're going to click a link in their DMs than actually take the time to go to your bio and click the link in your bio. Always do link in bio for stuff. It does still work, but you know your own habits on Instagram. How many times do you actually go to someone's bio? So using things like direct messaging and polls in order to share your lead magnet and drive more traffic or collect email addresses can be an incredibly valuable thing to do. Again, every single time that you're creating content for Instagram and you're doing these batches, think of ways that you can make sure you have at least 5 created for your latest blog post or your latest lead magnet, and you're sharing them at least once a week on Instagram. This here is another thing that we have on our Instagram account that's got the link in bio language. Excuse me. This graphic here was made for a blog post that we have. You can see it's super simple to make this. We used Canva. We're just putting the title of the blog post there. We're putting our Team Edgar colors. We're getting a graphic that we found. And this, again, we didn't take this picture. This is a stock image, so it's completely available for you to make graphics like this as well. And then we're going to go ahead and give people a little bit of inspiration and tell them that the link's in our bio if they want to learn more. So this is a feed post that you can do that with as well. And make sure you are using Instagram to drive traffic still. But again, making sure you're using the categories so that not every single post you're putting out there is like that. This is another one that we have started doing for our podcast social posts that's been working really well, is we do an interview style podcast and we get those transcribed and then we put quotes from our guests onto templates. Again, we've made this template in Canva, and quotes are some of the best content you can put out there to grab people's attention because we all love to learn from people who have gone ahead of us. So think about the quotes that you have that you could put out there. And again, you can see here, listen to the entire convo in the link in our bio is the last sentence we have on this descriptor. So there's a lot of things that you can do to drive content on Instagram, but still make it a standalone post, right? So this post still has value as it stands alone and people aren't clicking through to actually go to it. So think about ways you can make sure your posts that are traffic driving are really standalone value adding posts as well. Another thing I like to mention here too is if you are someone who's trying to drive a lot of traffic to a blog or something, one of the tools that I'd recommend checking out is Linktree. So Linktree is a great tool that you can put in multiple links into one link in your bio. So if you go to the Team Edgar Instagram account, you can see how this works. You click the link in our bio, and then you're brought to a place that has like our 5 latest links we shared, and you can actually choose which link you want to go to. It's a great way to make sure that the links last longer than just that one post. There's other companies who do it too, so definitely research what works for you. We're not an affiliate for Linktree or anything, but that's a great place to start if you are trying to get a more systemized way of getting more links to be clickable on Instagram. All right, so you also really want to think about posts that are going to keep your followers following you. So we've been talking a lot about brand awareness and convincing your followers to purchase from you, but what if someone actually is already a purchaser? Why should they keep following you on Instagram? You need to think about these kind of posts that you can put out there that are helpful for people already a part of your community. So for example, here at Meet Edgar, we put posts out there that are really helpful and really kind of show the gratitude we have for the people who are already with Edgar. This was a Valentine's Day post we put out there. That was our Share the Love campaign, where if you went ahead and referred someone to Edgar, we give you a $15 Amazon gift card. This is really a great post for reminding people who've already purchased from you, hey, still stay in our community. We're still gonna love up on you too. This page isn't just to get new followers. Remember, serve the followers you have. Make sure that you make it a fun place and a valuable place for people who have already purchased from you to continue hanging out, because that's how you get an engaged community. People are there for a long time. They get to know you. They love the content you're putting out there. They love talking to you and interacting with you. So what kind of content can you put out for your followers who have already purchased from you to thank them a little bit, to continue to give them tips and inspiration along the way? So you also can think about promoting on network-specific discounts as a way to really get people kind of quote unquote trained to want to look at your stories or to want to go to your profile's feed. So, you know, for us here at Meet Edgar, we've done things like put this coupon. You can see for Cyber Monday, we put a coupon in there that was for Cyber Edgar. And this was a coupon that was only for Instagram, right? So we can track the effectiveness and see if our promotional posts are actually getting people to buy or not. So if you're someone who offers discounts, can you offer a network-specific discount in that way so that you can track the effectiveness of your promotional posts? Remember, I know I've been talking a lot about value-adding posts, about making sure your community really sees your place as a fun place to hang out, an engaging place to hang out, but you also need to promote and sell a little bit. And when you flip the mindset that selling actually is helpful because you're giving people the opportunity to purchase a product or service that's going to make their life better, it becomes a lot more exciting for people to purchase from you. So when you're working with hashtags, we already kind of went over this concept. Remember what people see. They only see the photo if they're actually going and discovering you from a hashtag. So make sure you're doing text overlay on some of these content items. For hashtags, you know, Instagram does allow up to 30 of them. I definitely don't recommend using that many. When you're developing a hashtag strategy, definitely think about the ways that you can get a hashtag that's got a ton of different followers under it, down to a hashtag that only has a few followers. The reason for this is if you're sharing hashtags that say have like 2 million people using that hashtag, things move quickly. Your post is going to be buried in the explore feature very fast. You want to show up in it because it's a popular one. People are probably in it. But you also want to make sure in that same post that you have a hashtag that's a little like slower to burn, that might only have like 50,000 posts on Instagram use that hashtag, because your content will last longer. And then maybe look for a post that only has like 3,000 people. Your post will likely show up a lot more in people's searches. And then perhaps do a brand specific hashtag as well. So when you're using your hashtags, be intentional about looking for groupings and use a couple that have a ton of different photos categorized. Use a couple that are medium, use a couple that are small, and use a couple that are branded. And you've got a good mix of the hashtags that are working for you. You can also do things like turn tweets into screenshots. And this is something that works really well for things like social proof. So you can see here, this is one that Meet Edgar did. And this is the perfect example of how you can upcycle content. So we already have this tweet written. This is a great way that we can show our followers social proof that other people are using Edgar. Remember, no one wants to go first and be the first person. So they want to see that success. So make sure that if you have a really great testimonial tweet, or if you wrote a really great tweet, you can just screenshot that put it on a background in Canva, and upload it to Instagram. Again, it is working smarter, not harder with the content that you already have. Social proof is one of the best ways that you can show your future clients that they should be comfortable purchasing from you. Now, I know you're all trustworthy, and I know that you just telling someone they should purchase from you works really well. But really, when you want to think about it the most, when you get like user-generated content like that, that is gold for convincing people that the outcomes that they want are going to happen. And people trust it coming from someone who doesn't work at the company quite a bit more. So make sure you're looking for ways that you can use user-generated content like that tweet here onto your own personal accounts to show the social proof. As you're thinking about your Instagram strategy, I want to remind you what an engagement-oriented platform it is. And the way that Team Edgar does Instagram posting with our push notification system kind of is a great reminder that you don't want to post and ghost. Remember, you don't want to just put your content out there and then leave. You want to make sure you're engaging with the people that you are connecting with. So every time you get a push notification, remind yourself to go in there and like some photos that have to do with where your ideal clients are hanging out. Search a hashtag that has to do with your industry. Go on there and double tap some of the photos under that hashtag. Go ahead and look for ways that you can comment and be helpful to people in these communities. Do this for maybe 5 minutes after you post your Team Edgar push notification post, and you'll start to see your account grow quite significantly. Instagram, they're owned by Facebook. They remind us every time we open their app. So that means they're also looking for what Facebook put out there as meaningful social interaction in order to determine if your post is doing well or not. And that means comments. That means you and your community having good relationships, them wanting to DM you, them wanting to comment, them wanting to save your posts. These are all signals to the algorithm that your content should show up. So as you're starting to go throughout this too, you want to make sure that you're taking advantage of the hashtags or even of like your competitors. Could you go to someone who's your competitor, or could you go to like a hashtag that has to do with your industry and look for people who are commenting on a lot of these posts? Look for people who are really engaged on your competitors' posts. Then click on their handle to go to their profile and like a few of their posts. Comment on a few of their posts so they know that you exist. Do this again as you're starting to get those reminders from Edgar. Set a plan to do this 5 or 10 minutes a day as you're posting things, and you'll see your community grow. I know it takes a little bit more time doing this, but it is well worth it if you want to have an engaged community on Instagram. So go in there, comment on their photos. Don't just say like, nice pic. Actually go ahead and put something helpful in there. You know, if you see someone like, if you're a realtor and you see someone bought a new house, give them a little champagne cheers emoji on there or something. Look for ways to really be genuine with what you're saying on these comments. I like to refer to this as like little engagement bombs, right? You're going onto these people's profiles and double tapping, let's say maybe like 3 or 4 of their photos. You're going to get someone's attention. They're going to be like, wait a minute, what is this brand? I have 4 notifications from them, and it's likely they'll go and check you out. So I cannot stress it enough. I think the Instagram reminders are always a really good reminder for you to go on in there and actually go and consume that content. Last but not least, you know that little saying like keep Austin weird and like cities do that? I think Instagram really wants to keep Instagram weird. So one of the reasons Edgar doesn't have direct posting to Instagram is because they do have a closed API. And they really want to keep Instagram much of a authentic community as possible. So share who you really are. Share your little weirdsies on Instagram, and you'll attract the people that you should be attracting. Keep the engagement really authentic, and make sure that you're looking, again, at the mission statement of Instagram, which is to share the moments. Share the lifestyle moments that are going on in your brand, in your company, and you'll find success on Instagram. And keep it weird, keep it authentic, keep it who you are, and don't overthink it, and you'll see really great success with that. All right. So I'm really excited for you all to keep your Instagram posting going. So if you do have more questions, remember I do office hours every day. So if we didn't get something answered about like the setup of Edgar, again, those are completely just unstructured. You can come in and ask your questions. So I would really make sure that you, so I'll really make sure that you get those answered. I also, if you didn't get it yet, this is our Instagram success bundle there as well. Cool, let's see. Got a couple questions I see here. Sonia, I was late to the webinar, but quick question. Would you be able to share your screen to show me what your schedule looks like? What I'm looking to see is if you have various social media platforms all listed on your schedule. And to clarify, you can only have a total of 10 different scheduled items. Does this include having a daily blog as a category? Okay, so if you're on Edgar Lite, which is our smaller plan, you can only have 10 time slots on the schedule. Each time slot can be connected to all of your accounts or one of your accounts. If you're on the full Edgar plan, you can have unlimited time. Well, you can have 1,000 time slots on your schedule, so basically unlimited. So if you need more than 10, Sonia, you would have to upgrade. It sounds like you might be on our Edgar Lite plan. This is completely, again, so me showing my schedule isn't going to give you the right answer here, really, because this is completely up to you how you want to do it, especially if you're limited to the 4 categories and 10 time slots. I would suggest doing something like having a blog post category. Within the Meet Edgar library, when you click to add content into Edgar, if you're sharing a blog post, and let's say you'd like to share it to Instagram with the language that says link in bio, but you'd like to share it to Twitter and Facebook without that language, what I'd suggest doing is clicking to add content to Edgar, put it into your blog post category. Go ahead and attach the permission to go to Instagram and put your Instagram language as well as your Instagram photo and save it to your blog post category in the library. Click to add content again directly after that and go ahead and add it in your blog post category for Facebook and Twitter with the specific language for that network. Go ahead and save it to your library. You've now added like that same blog post for Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, but you've added them as 2 separate posts. If that category is on your Meet Edgar schedule, so you go to your schedule and you put a time slot for your blog post category, and you attach that time slot to Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, what's going to happen is Edgar's going to hit that time slot, and he's going to look for the most recent post in that category that has permission to go to all of those accounts. So if he hits that time slot and the most recent post only has permission to go to Instagram, he'll send that to Instagram. He's then going to notice that time slot also has permission to go to Facebook and Twitter. So he's going to continue searching in that category for the posts that have permission to go to Facebook and Twitter. He'll see it as the next post in there if you've added them back to back in the library and send it out there. So if you don't have enough categories or time slots to do the network specific ones, like if you don't want to make a category specifically for Instagram blogs, just make sure when you're adding the content, if you do it back to back, that category on your schedule, if it's gone ahead and being connected to all your networks, Edgar will send a post based on the permission set to all of the networks. So I know that's so wordy to explain, so I hope that did make sense there. But yeah, if you find you need more than 10 time slots, go ahead and email support@meetedgar.com and we can get you the upgrade. Remember as well, you can also schedule those one-time manual posting time slots. And Sonia, I'll go ahead and put this help article here. Even on Edgar Lite, you have unlimited manual time slots. And right here, that'll explain how you can go ahead and set up your manually scheduled schedule, send, and save ones. Oh, yeah, totally. Totally, that time slot will still send to all of the accounts if it's attached to all the accounts. I'm glad that made sense. Awesome. Okay, guys, well, we are coming up on the hour here. Again, I have so much fun in these content batching parties. If you guys have any feedback at all, we'd also just love to hear it to make sure that these continue to be a useful place for you to hang out. So let us know, either tweet us or DM us on Instagram. Maura will be in those social accounts, or like I said, email support@meetedgar.com. If there's anything you'd love to learn in next month's content batching party or anything like that, we love to hear that feedback. So go ahead and let us know. Join me in office hours if you have more setup specific questions. And I am more than happy to get those answered for you. Right here again is our playlist on YouTube, which is just like 3-minute videos of the setup process for all of those. Awesome. So go ahead and office hours. Yes, Sonia. So that's going to be this link here. And if you don't see a time that works, email support@meetedgar.com and we'll work something out where we can hop on a screen share. But that link, we will update it daily with the new office hours stuff. Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for hanging out today. I will be sending out the replay by the end of the day, hopefully today. So you should be able to see that. Thanks so much for hanging out today, guys. This was so much fun. And I hope you guys have a lot of fun celebrating 10 years of Instagram and batch out some good content. Thanks for joining, guys. I'll see you next month.